that I have you here to hear what I have to say. And all I can say is that the time has come for the G20 leaders to deliver. When President Obama and the other world leaders gather here next week to discuss the current global economic crisis, they must also focus on the threat of catastrophic climate change. And they must realize that these two crises should not be regarded as separate issues. Many of the causes and some of the solutions are the same, but both were preventable and they fail us on both issues. And I will be quoting President Obama throughout my speech, because I decided that I wanted to come here to make a personal appeal to him. In President Obama's word, a consequence of greed and irresponsibility on the part of some, but also our collective failure to make hard choices, is the cause of the climate crisis and the economic crisis that we are facing today. And I would like as well to read you something that Gordon Brown proclaimed 3 years ago. He said, "I believe that the world needs a new paradigm that moves the environmental challenge to the center of policy. Their objectives began and ended with economic prosperity and jobs." Well, what I'd like to say to you, don't you think that I could have said those words, that the other speakers could have said those words, that any of you could have said those words? But unfortunately, those were the rhetoric of Prime Minister Gordon Brown that unfortunately led us to the situation where we are today with respect to the economic crisis, and that unfortunately are as well leading us to face climate change catastrophe, and without real solutions until today. The warning from our most respected scientists has been clear in telling us that we are facing a tipping point, that we are facing a point of no return, and that perhaps we only have another decade in order to reverse and in order to avert climate change catastrophe. So it is for that reason that I am here, and I'm sure you are here today. If the G20 leaders are not prepared to do what is necessary, if they are going to have more sound bites that means nothing, we will not be able to avert the end of the planet as we know it. And for that reason, I think that you are all here under the rain, in the cold, because you want to, and we all want to send a clear message that it is important that leading up to Copenhagen, that we have an agreement that will be not just what it is politically expedient, but what it is based on what the scientists are telling us. When we hear that their intention is to reduce by 20% by 2020 CO2 emissions, we all know that those reductions are not enough. We all know that those reductions are what they think they can offer to us. But we must remember one thing, that you elect our leaders, that people throughout the world elect the leaders, and it is up to us to demand and to make them accountable. For that reason, I would like to appeal to President Obama and to ask him to please come to this country and to do what he promised he will do. We hope for him to show leadership, not just towards America, but towards the world. We believe in his word. Yes, we can. And we are not ashamed to say that we hope that all the hope that he used throughout his campaign, all the hope that all the messages of hope that he sent through the world, that they were based on truth, that he will be able to deliver, and that we will be able to see that he not only cared for the economic recovery of the United States, for the economic recovery of the world, but that he is committed to making sure that climate change catastrophe will not take place. The other thing that it is important, I think, for President Obama and for the other leaders who will be here, is that we cannot have a solution for climate change, we cannot have a solution for the economic crisis if we are not going to deal with the issue of climate justice. And for that reason, I would like to quote a report that was made by the McKinsey Institute that says that it is necessary to put aside $1 trillion over the next decade to be able to help the developing world, not only for the transfer of technology, but as well to be able to help them to deal with their own economic crisis. We know that perhaps some of you would say, but where do we get that $1 trillion in order to be, where do these countries will get the $1 trillion? Well, the thing that they need to know is that the future of the developing world is an important issue for them to deal with. Technologies that will be transferred to those countries, and the revolution on the renewable energy revolution that we need, because we need to move from a fossil fuel economy to a renewable energy economy. That will produce jobs not only in the developing world, but it will produce jobs here in the developed world. Let's look at the example of Germany. Their legislation to introduce feed-in tariff have been able to help them create 250,000 jobs because of their investment on renewable energy. It has been able to help the people empower themselves. It has been able to help the people to put renewable energy in their homes. The British government has done everything to stall the feed-in tariff legislation until today. And we should all demand that feed-in tariff should be supported by the British government tomorrow, so that we can create renewable energy jobs in this country. Let's take the example of the German government that has been able to promote the renewable energy revolution. We need to embark on a Copernican revolution, on a real revolution to move away from fossil fuels if we want to avert climate change and if we want to create more jobs. So it all is part of the same thing. All I can say is, President Obama, you say, yes, we can. And I come here today to say, we dare to believe that yes, you can. Thank you very much.